guys, I'm Sandy. If you're new here, I do crafts. What I don't do is teach my friends crafts because that never turns out well. So I like to have in my back pocket a little list of like classes that I can recommend for people who want to learn crafts and want to do it with somebody who is much more expert. But I won't recommend things that I haven't tried because I just don't think that's right, you know? And of course, the minute you recommend something you haven't tried, you could have heard the best things about it forever. And the minute you recommend it, it's going to be like the person is going to get the worst service. It's just inevitable. So, there's that. I also learned to knit. So I learned to knit from KnitCrate Newbies. Like I learned to knit when I was 8 and I learned to purl around the same time. I learned how to knit the knit stitch from my grandma and the purl stitch from my nonna. And I could make a scarf. Let me tell you, I made some good scarves. But it came to the point when I was about 23, 24 and I'm like, I've been doing this for so long now, but I want to be good at it. So I found out KnitCrate did like this KnitCrate Newbies class and I'm like, that looks cool. So I signed up for it and you learned everything. This was back when the founder, Andrea, she's still in the company. You learned literally everything. Like you learned, it went through lace work. It went through, lace, it went through cables, it went through color work, through hats, it did like the beekeeper's quilt, to learn like in the round on smaller needles and how something like that would work. It it just taught everything. Like it was a great class and I recommended it to everyone. And you got beautiful yarn with it. You know, it came with the first, I think, couple months it came with the needles, but then it was like, hey, go buy your needles. Like if you're loving this, you know, I think the first 3 months it came with needles. You know, so, yeah, I loved that. And then I did the sock newbies as well. And when they took that down, I was actually just heartbroken because I get people a lot. When you tell people, you know, that you knit, it's either somebody they know knits, can you teach me, or can you make me this sweater that will cost me $300 and like 2 years to make. So, you know, but yeah, so there's the issue of, yeah, they took that down and I was really sad. So when I found out that they brought back new like learn to fiber arts kits, they have a knit, which is one we're talking about today, crochet, and dyeing. And dyeing was with Rebecca from Chemknit, so I was like, yes. I love her. And yeah, but you know, the knit crochet one, I hadn't heard of the woman doing it, but I thought, okay, like she probably knows what she's talking about. So I signed up for all 3 because I'm not known for restraint. So yeah, so I signed up for all 3. I was so excited. And the crochet one came first, so I did that, and then the knit one came, and it's every month you get a like box of yarn with a project, instructions, and materials and stuff in the pattern. So the videos are free on YouTube for everybody, so I'm not going to focus on those as much. I mean, they were good videos, the production quality was good. Yeah, like I don't have any issues with the videos, but again, that's not, in my opinion, the product you're paying for. So I'm gonna talk more about the kit and the patterns. So, and like the instructions. So the kits you got, were like pretty good. The stuff you got, I mean, I got, the first kit is kind of the biggest one. It comes with, your, you know, measuring tape, your scissors, and details like that are really important because they're things that you wouldn't think you need to have, but you really do need, like crafting scissors. I mean, my husband asked me before he uses like all, but he knows he's allowed the 3 pairs of scissors, or 2 pairs he knows he's definitely allowed to use. There's 1 pair where we were just having some scissor issues, so I retired one from crafting and it is now house scissors. And he still, like, sometimes will be like, I'm allowed to use these, right? Like, which is how it should be. If people are not scared to use your scissors, you are not crafting right. My brother used to use my sewing scissors, like my fabric scissors, to open popsicles because he's like, they taste so clean. And I'm still mad about it because he shouldn't have been doing that, but, you know. Anyway, so, yeah, scissors, so important. And they're good scissors. They're just like the basic embroidery scissors. I'm very passionate about scissors. I'm gonna get off this little tangent. Anyway, so I came with like stitch markers, you know, your needles, the needles, all the needles they send. These are actually the ones that they sent in the first box. They're all Knit Pro. I know it's Knit Pro in Europe and Australia. I think Knitter's Pride I know it's Knitter's Pride in Canada. I think it is in the States as well. I'm not 100% sure. But anyway, so yeah, Knit Pro, Knitter's Pride needles. Very, very good needles. They're the kind I buy. My interchangeable set is Knit Pro. I've invested a lot in them. I love them. So I'm not mad at the needles. Great needles. Yeah, so like the stuff you got was pretty good. It was useful. You know, the way knit crates usually work is you get 2 skeins of yarn and a fun extra. Or if you get the sock crate, you get 1 sock crate. And the fun extra could be knitting related, or like this month's was a flashlight, like keychain. So, you know, it could be like any kind of branded extra. I prefer when they send the knitting ones, but yeah. So yeah, a knit crate does give beautiful yarn. Like this is the sock yarn. It's merino, it's alpaca, superwash merino, alpaca, and nylon because it's for socks. But it's gorgeous. I love knit crate yarn. I have been subscribing to their box. If I can afford to subscribe to their crates, I get them. Like if it's within my budget, because I love them. And it's gorgeous yarn, and then they pair with people, and it's just such a good program. So I had very high expectations for this, partly because the Knit Crate Newbies was so good, and because I just know there's a quality that I expect from Knit Crate that I've previously gotten. So the first kit that came of the whole series was actually the crochet kit, and that's where we ran into some problems, because they had a yarn that wasn't one of their beautiful hand-dyed gorgeous skeins of yarn. It was this, which is Ella Rae Superwash. It's not a bad yarn, first off. Let me just put that out there. This is not a bad yarn by any means. If I was doing like a seed stitch cowl, 100% I would recommend it for somebody as their first project. I'd say get 2 skeins because the meterage is a bit low, but they just sent 1. And also cost wise, this was $20. This rings in about 8 or 9. So, and the kit's $34.95. So it just, you know, and I ran into problems in the crochet one because there wasn't enough yarn to finish the crochet one. And the customer service woman was a little bit sassy about it. And I never had bad experiences. Like 6 years ago when I did this, when I first started this like Knit Crate journey, I had nothing but excellent experience with Knit Crate. I remember when they switched the patterns to digital and I had a few drinks and cleaned up. And I accidentally threw away the code and I just emailed her. I'm like, I'm sorry, you know, like I came home late and I decided it would be like a jolly good idea to clean up. And I accidentally threw it away and she was just like, no problem, here's a new code. Like everything is, I've never had a bad experience until that moment. And it was just, not great. So, you know, even now lately there's been a bit of an issue because of like shipping and Brexit, and then like my card expired, but it was like a card and it was a whole thing anyway. So even that experience has been nothing but good. But this one, crochet one, was just if I wasn't already in the fiber arts, like, and so into it already, I probably would have quit any sort of fiber work after that project because of not just the experience of not having enough yarn to finish the project, but the experience of the response. You know what I mean? Now to be fair, I do think that I was on the first rollout of these. So, I'm hoping they've had some time, like, and even as you'll see, there was some other stuff that went wrong. I hope they've had some time to kind of fix things. So anyway, so they sent this yarn, and it's not a bad yarn. I don't mind it. It's probably gonna be made into couch socks for me, but it didn't look good with the cowl. It doesn't have the right drape. It doesn't, it just didn't look nice with the cowl. So I pulled apart the cowl. I was really upset about it. I think I did a podcast about it. So if you follow along with like the Friday podcast, if you want to see those. But yeah, so it was just really honestly a heartbreaking experience because it was just like, it just didn't look good. And I don't know. I mean, a part of it could be the color. I just don't think this is as much my color. I think I probably was a bit dramatic about it just because of the, well, first off, because of who I am as a person. And secondly, because of the fact that the crochet one didn't work. So, and this one also just barely had enough. And here's the thing with it. With the, and I'm trying really hard not to compare this to the KnitCrate Newbies because I know that it's a new owner and it is like a different, you know, it's the same company, but it's a different company. The KnitCrate Newbies always gave you 2 skeins, one to swatch with and learn the skill, and one to, you know, make the project with. And here's why I ran into an issue with this, is that in the thing they say do the swatches, learn the stitches, but they don't tell you to not bind off the swatches. They tell you, in fact, it does say when they mention, you know, like when you block, you're supposed to block your swatches so that you really know what size you're getting. But, you know, they never said anything about that. So if you were completely new to this and you did your swatches, and let's say you wanted to keep your first swatch because it was like the first thing you ever knit, there was no way you'd have enough yarn to finish your project. So, like, I don't know, even just if it was like a mini skein, like a half skein, there should have been something to, you know, or even like, this isn't an expensive yarn, obviously, and it was the same dye lot and everything as the crochet one. So obviously I got a really good deal on this. Why not send 2 skeins so that you can actually like properly swatch and learn how to do things? So anyway, the cowl, I think it looked really beautiful in the photo. I think it would have been really beautiful in one of the nice, gorgeous yarns I've come to expect from KnitCrate. But that's not what happened. So that was a bit disappointing. But like I said, I liked the kit, so I was still optimistic at that point. The second pattern, oh, and one thing that I noted too in the first month, and this is for me a bit unforgivable. I wanted to do this kit as a continental knitter because I've never learned continental. Like I've tried it, but you know, so I'm like, okay, I want to really have like a beginner's experience and I'll do this continental. It'll be fun. It'll be cute. It'll be like a good little blog post hook. So they didn't mention continental or English knitting. So if you're new to knitting, one of the big, I want to say like, it's just one of the basic things in knitting, but it's become like this thing, is there's 2 types of knitting. There's English continental. I'm an English knitter. So when I hold my work, I hold my yarn in my right hand. A continental knitter apparently holds their yarn. I don't even know how they do it, but you hold it in your left hand. So I have been knitting English. That's just how I was taught. I've been doing it forever. So for me, it's not, you know, but I was excited to do the continental experience. I've tried a bit of continental before. I do have some like pain in my elbow from an old like rugby injury. But at the same time, I wanted to learn continental because when you do color work, then you can have one on each arm. And I just think it looks really like cool, but also I just, you know, I wanted to try it. So I think not even to mention it is a bit of a disservice. And there is like a bit of a like controversy in the knitting world where people are like, continental's faster, it's better, da 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 da, and people who knit English are like, my opinion is whatever you have more practice on is faster because you know what you're doing better. But you know, so yeah, I think to not even mention it is a bit unforgivable, and to only do the videos in one doesn't seem right to me. So there's that. Anyways, the second month, we hit another stumbling block. We hit a couple stumbling blocks, but the first one we hit is supposed to be a hat, so you learn like knitting in the round, which is a very important skill. The first month you learn knitting and purling and like casting on and binding off, so very simple. The issue was they sent me a fingering weight yarn, and I looked at the pattern, I looked at the yarn, and I'm like, this is beautiful yarn. Like I got some of it in a different color in my KnitCrate a couple months before, and I was like, okay, that's more like it. This is like the kind of yarn I was expecting here. The issue is it was fingering weight for a worsted weight hat, and fingering weight is like what you'd knit socks with, and worsted weight is like what you'd knit a hat with, and they're very, very different. So, you know, like this is a worsted weight. And if you tried to knit a fingering weight, and yeah, here we go. This is actually a good comparison. More prepared than I thought I was. So here's a fingering weight and here's a worsted weight. As you can see, the thicknesses of them are very different. So if you were to knit with this on the needles for this, it wouldn't look right. It just wouldn't work as a project. There would be a lot of holes. It wouldn't look like the picture at all. So anyway, I emailed them just being like, hey, I think there's been a mix up. You know, this says worsted, this says fingering. So I don't know. So, you know, they were great about it. They're like, oh yeah, we'll put a worsted weight in the mail right away. So sorry for that. Keep the other skein. Like, yeah, great customer service. So I was like, yes, it was just, you know, and the one with the crochet, I do think I probably just got a girl on a bad day, but no matter how bad a day you're being, you shouldn't be rude to newbies. But anyway, so, that's for another video when I finish the crochet class. Sandy built a bridge, get over it. Okay, so they sent me the worsted weight yarn and I went to start the project really excited. You know, one thing I did find odd is that it came with literally the exact same needles in the exact same size as the first month. So I'm like, okay, and it also came with a set of double points. Because needles typically are, for hats, you typically need 3 sizes of needle. You need one for the ribbing, one for the go-arounds in a circular, and double points for when you don't have enough, because there comes a point where you don't have too few stitches to actually get this like going smooth. So then you switch to these guys. You can just knit an entire hat on these guys. I mean, I'm knitting an entire sock on double points. Like, that's just, you know, it's possible, but it's not as common. Usually you use 3 different types. So, yeah, I found it very strange that it was the same. So I look at the pattern, and of course, you know, so I do think the intention was to send the size down, but that's not what happened. And I think that combined with the skein, I think there was probably just a very big mix-up at the warehouse. I mean, I don't know. So luckily I had the interchangeables. I was gonna email them, but I'm just like, I'm not gonna. And it was a few months past I got the box at that point because I'd been doing some other projects and stuff. So yeah, so it's the Ring of Pearls hat. It's a cute hat. I'm not sure about the color for me, but it is cute. The issue here is there is an error in this pattern. There should be another purl row, another one of these bumpy rows in here. So I came to it and I'm like, I mean, I should have just done it the way I knew how to do it, but I wanted to do it as written in the pattern because what if this was like a design feature? So I think it's an errata in the pattern, which brings me to another gripe I have with this set. One of the most important things to do is before you do a pattern, to check if there is an errata, to check if there's any changes in the pattern that have been found as the pattern's being made by people. Because usually the way you make a knitting pattern is you make your knitting pattern, it works, then you get people to test it. And when the people test it, they find, like, I've been a tester and it is, it's fun, but it's a lot of work. Usually you get the pattern free. Sometimes you get an extra pattern free as well. And yeah, and it's a process and it takes a while, and usually you have between like 5 and 10 people testing this pattern, so any issues are going to get caught. Something like this, I have a hard time believing this went through testers, because this would have been something they first picked up. But even if it did, you know, things happen sometimes. So that, to me, okay, so I went on Ravelry, and they say the designer, they say her name on Ravelry, so I went and looked at her Ravelry, and this isn't on there. So there is nowhere that this pattern really has a presence, so I couldn't check for an errata. That should be mentioned, and it should be mentioned as, you know, you check your erratas, you do your gauge, you make sure. So I don't know, I think that sets people up for future knitting success. That's a big piece of information to leave out of something. So, you know, there's that. The third month, there were no issues. It was good. They gave you a nice little graduation pin. It was cute. I got the needles. They're the right size. I got 2 skeins of this cotton yarn. It's 100 grams. I have skeins upstairs because I got it in my KnitCrate as well. So I got 2 of the gray ones in my KnitCrate. My goodness, I'm talking way more than I usually do. I even left the house once this week. Like, oh. So, yeah. So this is the third one. It's kind of a kerchief cowl. It's a cotton yarn. Yeah, it turned out nice. I mean, there was an issue with the pattern with the increases. I mean, this one also could have been my issue and I did it wrong, but I'm pretty sure I didn't because I just don't think it's something I would have messed up, but at the same time, like, it totally could be my error. I just don't think that the seed stitch works out at the bottom. And it's fine. It's kind of like hidden because it's seed stitch, so you can't really see anything. And this is always going to be like in my coat. So you learn increasing in this, which I think is good that they did an increase. They did a knit front and back. This would have looked so much better if you learned the difference between a left leaning and a right leaning increase, which is very important to note, and could have done a make one left, make one right. In my opinion, I don't think that was covered sufficiently. I don't think color jogging was given enough, because this is the thing, like, you look at these things and you think you've done something wrong. Yeah, so I think that was something that I missed out on, and this is a cotton yarn. So when I first started knitting, all I could really afford was cotton, so I learned on cotton, so I don't have a lot of issues with it. But a lot of people do have issues with knitting cotton because it is harder to keep your tension. And even, I mean, this disaster or this one, none of these were the yarns used. None of the fabric or the fiber contents match. This yarn's beautiful. It's alpaca, silk, and wool, I want to say. But yeah, it's a beautiful yarn, don't get me wrong, I love it, but there was nothing on yarn substitution, and that's something that's so, and I think at the most there might have been like a sentence. So I just think that it comes down to would I recommend this class to somebody, and I don't know, to be honest. I think a big part of it was I got the first rollout, and I'm hoping that they've kind of had the time to fix the issues that were there. The tough thing is I love the concept of this. I like that it's not a thing where you have to go into a yarn shop, and just in general with classes, sometimes if you give too much information at the front, it can, like, right off the bat, it can be really intimidating. So in a way, I think this was, I think this was done well in a way. And, the videos didn't extend to the project. So you didn't get any videos in the project. It was just like, read the pattern, do what it says. So it wasn't like knit along-y-ish, which I kind of wish it was, at least even for the first project. I don't know. Like, I think they've sorted it out yarn-wise. I don't really hold the kit issues as badly. What mainly bugs me about this, and that would stop me from kind of recommending it more, is the issues. Like, they don't even talk about continental or pattern erratas, that there isn't any, and that, there's been something wrong with, I mean, I've had an issue with every single box. The first one, it was a yarn substitution that I personally don't think worked. The second one, I had a yarn that wasn't supposed to be there and the wrong size needles. And the third, and the issue with pattern in this section. And the third, I don't think that the seed stitch worked. So, I think it depends on what you want to be. Like, I don't think after doing this, and even in doing the crochet one, I don't feel after doing the crochet one, I can go and find a crochet pattern and confidently do it. I think I'm probably going to take a few more crochet classes till I can feel confident with that. I think if somebody just wants to learn to knit as something to do, like, during the lockdown, this honestly is a pretty good way to do it, because you get something every month. It's, it's stuff you'll wear. Like, as much as I'm not a fan of the pink on this, if I'm just running out to walk the dog. I think especially in the spring when you don't want like something warm, you just want something to kind of keep the wind off. I think I'm gonna get a lot of use out of this, and I think I'm gonna get a lot of use out of the crochet when I make as well, because that's the kind of thing that I'll just grab on real quick, you know? So there's that, and I think you do learn the basics. I think after this you come out still going for beginner patterns, 100%. Like, I wouldn't even say advanced beginner patterns. I'd say stick to beginner patterns for probably another few projects until you get the hang of it a bit more. Yeah, like if you just want something to do during the lockdown, and you know, like Ireland's in our 3rd lockdown right now, so if you just want something easy to do, just to kind of occupy the mind, something to do while you watch TV, this might be a great thing to do. But if you actually really want to learn the art of knitting, I mean, it's a start. I think a lot of it, honestly, is expectation management as well. Like, don't come out of this expecting that you'll be going straight up to, like, you know, making a cabled sweater. So, yeah. I'm not saying there are techniques like that, like cabling, that you do kind of want to hand hold on. So, it's been almost a half hour. I am writing a blog post on this that is taking me almost a week because I'm trying to come up with an answer that's not, I don't know, I'm confused. But I just don't think that I can come up with an answer that's not, I don't know, I'm confused, because I really am. Like, I don't think it's bad enough to say don't do it ever, because I think a lot of it is them just like fixing their shipping issues. I mean, it's, you know, it was new, and I think they probably have sorted a bit of that. But I also don't want to say like I recommend it 100%, because I think it I think if I hadn't done the old newbies, maybe I'd be a bit more receptive to it. I don't know. I don't know. So yeah. Anyway, those are my thoughts. Make your own judgments based on that. The thoughts of somebody who's been knitting for years on what this is. I like the projects. Again, I'll get great use out of these two. I'm gonna make a pair of around the house socks with these, with that. So yeah, I mean, like I said, if you're just looking for something to kind of do and you don't want to be like super knitter, or you don't expect to be super knitter. If you do want to be super knitter, don't expect it after these 3 months. Yeah. I wish I had a better answer. Honestly, I really do. I've been trying to figure it out. I've been putting off filming this. I've been putting off writing the blog post just because it's a thing of I can't figure out how I feel, and that doesn't feel good. So yeah, those are the thoughts. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you've done this too and you found things were completely different than what I've said, let me know. You know, if you're thinking of trying this and you want to kind of figure out if it's more for you, I'll answer questions about it. I mean, I've done the course. I am an affiliate for KnitCrate, but I don't work for them. I've paid for everything myself, so yeah. Again, I don't know. I'm confused. Like, I think they should just bring back the old newbies. Or have 2 levels. Be like newbies light and then be like newbies advanced, where you actually learn the stuff. Because, yeah, I don't send out this yarn. Come on, KnitCrate, you're better than this. Anyway, yeah, so hopefully I'll be finished the crochet and the dye one soon, so I'll be able to talk a bit about those. I'm really excited for the dye one. That is like so supreme wonderful. Anyway, talk to you guys later. If you want more clothes making content, I sew, knit, crochet. I'm learning to make shoes. I do a lot of glue and stuff to other stuff. Yeah, all the DIY clothes. Make sure to subscribe and stick around. We'll talk to you guys later. Bye.